right, we will reconvene our meeting. It is 1:44. Okay. So would you like to talk to us about where we've gotten to, Janine?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So the spreadsheet that is showing to you at the moment is a summation of where I believe council decision or discussions are currently landing, and opportunity to check that my understanding reflects your discussion. And also just to note what impact that has in terms of the total rates revenue requirement for the 25-26 financial year. So if we look at the Chief Executive's submission, first of all, the review of the budgets that staff had done identified savings that reduced the rates revenue required from current ratepayers by $678,000. There were a couple of matters that staff had noted against that were coming through from council resolutions or discussions that were live in terms of the setting of KPIs for the Chief Executive for the next year. So council has already had a discussion today in terms of the concept of establishing a research and development opportunities fund. So that would see an additional $250,000 per annum of general rates going into the budget. And then you've also heard from the Chief Executive earlier today in terms of some additional funding to address staff remuneration for the upcoming period. So if those matters were approved by council, that would mean that compared to the draft annual plan, we see a reduction in rates revenue required of $178,000 and the resulting increase in rates revenue from current ratepayers of being 5.7%. That compares to the 5.9% that was included in the draft annual plan and the basis of consultation. If we then move to the prior year surplus and acknowledging in our consultation document, we'd left an open question there for council, noting their desire to consider the use of these funds through the setting of the annual plan budget. We had available just shy of $4.5 million. There are some matters that have been flagged within the agenda that need to be addressed, and staff have recommended consideration of those through the prior year surplus. So one of them being addressing the impact of organisation change. While there's a value ascribed to that in the slide, obviously that remains uncertain until those consultation and decision-making processes are completed. So there is a high degree of uncertainty over that number. We have spoken to you, and again, it's reflected in a CE KPI around making sure that we are getting really good value from the investment that council has made in the Infor application suite. And so the executive team fully supportive of that, but recommending some additional investment, particularly around change management, learning support, a little bit of extra business analysis and technical resource, but really supporting our staff and the uptake of that new technology and the way that they work. In addition to the $250,000 of funding going into the proposed research and development fund, there has also been the concept of the pilot of the water siphon. And so it's noted that if that were to proceed, the funding needed for that would exceed the $250,000 in the left-hand column and under the CE submission. So would be recommended that the prior year surplus is used to secure any additional funding required in that space if that is needed. And then the funding for the energy strategy, so this is one in terms of the CE submission report that was sitting in that column based on discussions this morning, noting that that is one-off expenditure and strategic in nature, there was discussion about whether that could also be funded through the prior year surplus. So I've moved that over into that column. So assuming that all of those matters were approved by council, that's an if, that would mean that of the $4.5 million of prior year surplus funds that are currently available, there would be about $2.5 million that's unallocated. Now, I know some councillors want to understand the impact of what that would mean if that was applied to offsetting our rates revenue for the 25-26 year. And so this spreadsheet shows that impact, that all other changes being included in here, if we applied the $2.5 million of prior year surplus into this year's budget, that would reduce the increase in rates revenue from 5.7 down to 4% in 25-26, noting that it would then subsequently increase the rates revenue in 26-27 from the 4.2% that's signalled in the LTP up to 5.9%. At a property level, that $2.5 million applied to offset the general rate would result in a reduction of $1.09 per $100,000 of capital value. So for $1 million property, that would see a reduction in the rates payable by that property owner of $10.90. For a moment there. The other matter was in just some more detail that councillors had requested in relation to staff remuneration. So this is just a summary of where we're currently sitting and I guess the context within which that additional funding has been requested by the Chief Executive. So the draft annual plan includes a 3.9% provision for both market and performance movement, so about 2.6 million. Based on the March data that we have recently received, the overall market movement across our workforce is 3.7%, so that would cost just under $2.5 million to implement. Difference between those is 144,000 that would be available for performance recognition and to address some contractual obligations that we have under our collective employment agreements to see staff progressing within their salary bands. Those commitments would likely see us in a deficit position compared to the split between market and performance. So should council approve the additional 250,000, that would put us in the position of having a small provision for the recognition of outstanding performance. So that would be less than 100,000. But in doing that, we would still have a gap to market. So we would not be in a position to be able to meet market in terms of our staff remuneration.
All right. Any questions on any of that, councillors?
Quite well explained. Thank you, Janine.
I always think it's very helpful to see what it all looks like as a package. So what we've got, councillors, is we've got some recommended motions that reflect the collective of information that Janine has just shared with us.
I'll stop sharing and let Dave take the steering wheel back.
Got it.
All right. So do you want to talk us through these?
during the break, we have taken the motions and your feedback on board, and we've compiled them into what we suspect is a sensible order to consider each point of discussion. So we'll work through them one at a time. This first point is simply that we have finished with the annual plan submissions, being the option one and, sorry, not the option one, the first two matters, which was proposal one and proposal two, being the public transport rating and the Furukawa coast rating, which we've previously resolved. This resolution just states that from this perspective, we have finished that part of the proceedings, and then we can move into the CE submission topics.
Is that the council makes no additional changes to the annual plan? Well, if we do the CE submission, we do.
It's more about the timing of when you pass that one, perhaps, but
Yeah.
but it kind of means coming out of the submissions. Yeah, so I think that's intended to be in response to general submissions. We haven't made
Can we make
any.
it specific to that?
Specific, yeah, I think it does need to be specific.
Okay.
A general
clarity.
submission? I think it's general matters, isn't it?
Excluding C submission.
General
Thank you.
submissions excluding CE, that gives the clarity that we need.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I'm happy to, if we're taking them separately, I'm happy to move that one, but I just want to give the context that I did make quite a few notes reading those submissions, and I will follow them up with stuff, just that none of them would be mature enough to have a financial decision at this day. So just giving that confidence to people out there that we are listening to those submissions and following things up. Thanks.
I've got a second in Councillor Mahuta. All those in favor? Oh, sorry.
Just wondering, how does that deal? Because we did go out with options. No, I understand that, but that doesn't speak to the
We have previously resolved, so if I just roll up a little bit.
The Furukawa coast.
So for
and the
example,
PT.
PT, we've run with option two, we've resolved.
Okay, so it is recorded as such. No,
Yes,
that-
it is. So in the minutes,
It's
it's
like
just a
all-
progression closing off that section.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
So in this next section, so this was in relation to the Research and Development Opportunities Fund and just building out some considerations on this around, to be clear, in terms of that 250,000 per annum contribution from the general rate to get to a fund of $1 million, but commencing in 25-26. Noting that subsequent budget setting processes ensure that the fund value is maintained at $1 million effectively after that first 4-year period, and then directing staff to prepare the policies and frameworks that will support the operation of the fund to ensure that council's achieving its goals and objectives.
Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Cookson, do I have a second?
No,
Councillor Kneebone? Oh, I've got a mover and a second for that motion. Councillor Dunbar-Smith?
I'm not sure that we can have item 3 because you're binding a future council. It says here the fund is maintained after 29-30, which you can't do if it's a new triennium. And also, I understood that each year we would get to decide on the 250. Whereas that item number 3 implies it will be maintained at $1 million. So it's going to get to $1 million and then be maintained there.
Yeah. Do you want to?
So this is as presented effectively in the CE submission report, that we would be making a $250,000 per annum contribution into the fund up to, so it's to get it up to $1 million. And then the discussion was around being very clear that the intention is to hold it at $1 million. So if it's drawn down on outside of that period, that there is future injections into the fund.
I'm just saying I don't necessarily agree with that I understood we were going to set the rules and policies, and each year we would decide if it had worked and more money would go in, because this money was coming out of money saved this year. Otherwise, it'll come out of additional rates in future years.
But would it help if 3 was that the intention is that subsequent?
I think the intention.
Yeah. I just think it would address, it's we talked about,
This is no different
but
to
I'm
investment.
happy to stay with it.
It's a money investment fund, effectively. Any future council can pull upon our investment.
Pull the
fund.
pin on this. Yep,
Is on
it's like
anything,
anything.
absolutely anything. So. you know,
Anything.
That's what I wondered.
I
But
think,
if we have an intention.
Other than that, I think the reason this is in here is to give an indication of
The
the
intent.
quantum.
the intent of
Yes.
what this council is trying
Yes.
to achieve. And
Yeah.
so I think I'm the next speaker, Madam Chair, if I may finish.
Yes,
The intent of what we're trying to do is articulated in this subsection, or section 3. And as Stu has just said, any council or future council can change absolutely anything
absolutely
and
anything.
rewrite the books.
Yep,
So it's the intent, and that's what, I think that enough
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
yep. Councillor Nicol? Nope,
No, it was purely if we wanted to add the word intent or not. I don't mind either way.
all good. All right, I've got a mover and a second. All those in favor? Opposed?
Yes, I oppose. Could you record my vote, please, Dave?
So we've got Councillor Graff, Councillor Hughes, and Councillor Dunbar-Smith. Councillor Marr. All right, motion passes. All right, now this is for the additional general rate funding of 240,000 for the preparation of the Tahuya business cases. We've got a mover in Councillor Mahuta, second in Councillor Strange. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
I oppose that too, Madam Chair. Please
No.
record that. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes and Councillor Graff against.
Can I abstain? This is Katarana.
And I've got Councillor Dunbar-Smith and Katarina, or sorry, Councillor Hodge abstaining. Motion passes.
Yep. Don't worry.
Motion passes. He did, no, Ben abstained. Carried. All right, so the additional funding of 250,000 for staff remuneration. Do I have a mover? I'll move.
I'll second. I think if it's only fair that there is some ability to remunerate outstanding performance. And I have a lot of trust in our CE to evaluate that. And also, the thing with this is that market moves all the time. To not move incrementally means there's a larger jump in future. That's why I'm supporting this.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Yes, I'm
Carried.
opposed. I'm opposed, Madam Chair. Dave, could you note that, please?
Noted. Sorry, Ben, was that opposed? Motion carried.
I'm
Oh.
opposed too, Madam Chair.
Sorry. Okay, we've got Councillor
Downard.
Downard. Okay, next we've got, sorry?
No.
Okay. So we've got, this is in relation to the prior year surplus. We've got a mover in Councillor Cookson, a second in Councillor Marr. Sure.
Dave. All right. Is there any parameters around A, or is that an open check?
Impacts of organization structure changes.
Yeah, I think we should put the dollar value in there. Because
It
that
wa- it was-
wording allows an open
It
check.
was notionally, I guess it's for the change process, not in terms of an ongoing.
So put the figure up
organisation.
there, and if there's more needed, the chief executive can come back.
Yeah, so it was up to 1 million.
Can we take these separately?
Yes, that's what I'd like to ask too, thanks.
All right, we doing these separate? If required, yeah,
required.
we should do that. So that, yeah, there we go.
So, Madam Chair, I'm uncomfortable with it like that. I think there should be guardrails around it, but I don't believe this is the appropriate place for us to be discussing it.
How are we going to deal with that then? How do I deal with it?
So, Madam Chair, I think what this does is preserves the ability of the Chief Executive to access some funding through here to respond to the change proposals. The challenge is they haven't been determined at the moment. So there is still a process that needs to be followed with staff before that value can be quantified. So I think, Chris, you'll work that through with elected members. This is not
Rather than having that figure, could it go back to CERC to make the final decision on the amount?
Sorry. This is the guardrails, isn't it? But, or the parameters?
Yeah,
yes.
this is the budget for it.
This is the budget for
yeah,
it.
Pippa's right.
it's not
Obviously,
it's spend of it.
It's not the spend. It's not the decision to spend. Yes, it's provision. Right. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so if we're taking these separately,
Yeah.
I'll remove my second, thanks.
okay, I've got a second in Councillor Mahuta. So for item A, this is for the organization structure changes. Sorry. What do I still see lights on? Are we still wanting to discuss aspects?
I was just going to say, to my mind, the guardrails issue, it's no different to the one we made just before about the
Yeah.
development trial fund.
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
eh?
I think we're all in agreement about that. Okay, so A, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Sorry, Clyde, what was that?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm opposed to that too. Sorry, that's how it is.
Okay, for B, all those in favor?
Support.
Oh,
Support.
yeah. In terms of access to the prior year surplus, it was around, yeah.
So
Doesn't-
all
doesn't-
those in favor?
Mm.
Sorry.
Point of clarification,
Yeah,
we're not approving money for the siphon without seeing any project.
It's
This is if it-
noting there'll be a
it
further
should say,
decision
it should say if it proceeds,
if it proceeds.
if
yeah.
it proceeds.
That was in the slide, yeah. Thank you. Both of those are just, A and B are but just provisions, and they will have further.
I think with
detail.
that one in particular, you've got to have subject to council approval or something, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so in terms of that one,
Yeah, look, I'm confident that Chris won't do it. I'm just making, yeah, just,
Sorry.
because this was just one of the things we could have done with it, you know, but.
Yeah, subject to council.
Should it proceed? Should it proceed?
Yeah, well, I thought
But-
they were one and the same.
But everything's already been moved and
And-
seconded.
and whether it proceeds will come to council.
Will come to council.
Great.
Yeah. Robbie
Um,
and Tippa. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for B, all those in favor?
Hang
Aye.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So just clarify, that's if it proceeds,
If it
and it has to
proceeds.
come to council, full council for decision.
Yes.
And second of all, we did hear the CE earlier make some commentary about stuff that he said he might tell us about whether it would proceed. I think he was making some comment about the project that some of us may not be in the know of.
I think we would hear that if it proceeds. If this proceeds, if there's
Well,
opportunity
he
here,
did make
it will
he did
come
say
back
that
to
I might
council.
tell you or something. He did make a comment.
Yeah, I can't recall if that was with reference to if you wanted to know more about it or the fact that where it is in the process right now.
Okay.
But the comment I'd like to make is that I think that expectation is as the wording is up there and B is different to A.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
So B, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so,
Didn't oppose to
Graf
agreement.
opposed. I think that's, Councillor Graff, were you opposing that or were you voting for it?
And I'm voting for it. Councillor Graff is
For it.
voting
Oh.
for it.
For it.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
You're right.
All right, great. Motion carried.
I'm a little perturbed because this morning when I was sitting with Greg, I saw a document that has been sent as a placeholder to Kānawa, so that should this project proceed, that we've got a foot in the door. And, you know, I just think that needs to be on the table. And
That's,
it's
I
a
think that's
placeholder. and-
pending the council approval.
Yeah, that's right. But, you know, there has been something done that if the opportunity arises, we have a foot in the door rather than missing the opportunity. So
Yeah.
I think that nothing has been progressed other than saying, hey,
We might
we
have
might want to
something.
come to you and
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Right. C, this is for the enablement of N4. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
So,
And that was Mike, and then Graff's opposed too, so don't mix us up.
oh, sorry. Oh, gosh. Wait a minute. Sorry, just so I'm clear. So Councillor Graff, are you opposed?
I am opposed, thanks.
And Councillor Downard, are you opposed?
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, and D,
I'd just like to speak to this one.
yep, so just so we're clear, this is 150,000 from the prior year surplus to progress the energy strategy.
So I believe that the information we've got on energy is sufficient at the moment. I'd like to see this 150,000 going back to the rates rebate proposed and make it 2.7 million, which is 2%.
So we've got a mover and seconder
second
for
it.
this
Yep.
motion?
yeah.
No, we've got a mover and seconder for the funding being funded out for the energy strategy being funded out of the prior year surplus. All those in favor?
Could I make a comment, please?
Yes?
I have some concern that it's a thinly done desktop exercise. And I'm wondering about the value, the quality, or are we ticking a box, or is it going to be sufficient to do it? So I just want to raise that public that I have concerns about
what we're actually going to do. Yeah, I just, no, Tracy tried to explain it this morning, but I was a bit concerned about the light touch.
Let's get, Stu, do you have a mic on for a reason? Sorry, there we go. Tracy?
Through you, Madam Chair. So the 150,000 that has been suggested, oh, sorry, no. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Try not to jump on top of it. So the $150,000 that we've got provisioned there in D is not for the light touch. That is for something that I would say would be a comprehensive energy strategy that would have the gravitas it needs. Apologies.
And just to confirm, that was the discussion that had been had at CERC last time. Yeah, I'm just confirming that was the discussion that had been at CERC.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed?
Yes, I'm opposed. I'm opposed.
Uh,
It's Graf as opposed. Thanks.
Downard's
Okay,
opposed
Graf.
too.
I've got Dunbar Smith opposed, and I've got Hughes opposed,
And Downard.
and Marr. Motion carried.
You forgot my name. Madam Chair? Thank you.
All right, got it.
Resolution at the end. Just
A cleanup.
Yeah,
sweep
clean
up.
up. So, Madam Chair, just we've ticked off a number of individual items through these recommendations, but there are a broad range of other budget changes that are proposed through the CE submission. So I've just said to Dave if we can just include something around the remaining budget changes included in that report be approved. I just don't want there to be any doubt on what's in and what has been approved.
So this is, and everything.
And everything else. Yeah.
And everything
within that CE submission.
All right, I just got to check with the mover and the seconder of this. Are you happy to move and second that item E as well? Yes. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, now we did have a foreshadowed motion. We do need to change those numbers.
Hey, good on you, Robbie. Paying attention. 2.545.
Can we have division, Madam Chair?
Okay. Is that what it was?
Yep. And that's 1.7.
Very good. 2542. I had 2.
2545.
5. Just make my notes correct. All right. Okay. Where am I? Okay, so that this is that the remaining 2.54 is which return to ratepayers. So if this motion passes, again, what it means is we're talking about approximately $10 return to a $1 million property. And including GST, yes. and a impact on the next year's rating, moving it from
4.2 to 5.9.
2 to 5.9. All right. And we will do division on this.
May I speak to it?
Certainly.
As I proposed it? Yeah, I think that the $1.90 or whatever you're focusing on is irrelevant. To me, it's a principle of the matter. This was collected off ratepayers a year or so ago, It needs to go back to those ratepayers. We have another surplus coming at the end of this year. And I think for them to accept that we're going to put that in a pot to use for some fantastic program or whatever it is further down the track is irrelevant. And so that's why I propose this motion that it goes back to those that have paid it in a relatively quick time from when they paid it. Thank you.
Speakers, seconder. Times are tough out there for people. There's a lot of pensioners who are struggling to pay rates as it is, and I think it's time we give something back. And I pick up the point Councillor Mahuta made earlier that we've had a repeated pattern of having surpluses and then keeping them to spend on projects at the very end of the year without necessarily a whole lot of scrutiny about what we're doing. So I think it's time to reverse that process.
Could I have some idea of the cost of the administration processes around doing what is being proposed?
So through the chair, we would effectively just bake that reduction into the rates revenue requirement through the annual plan. So it's not a return to ratepayers in terms of a physical cash back or anything like that. We would just reduce the general rate that we assess for the 25-26 year.
I've got Councillor Nicol.
Yeah, thanks. I still don't support it because I'm surprised none of those people submitted, just as one point, who are calling for this, or very, very, very few. I think it's in the 1 or 2 if I did read it correctly. I do worry about it being election year and it being seen as an opportunity to lower the rates just as that is coming up. Just the optics of that, which you can view either way. And I think that anyone who's returning next year by being elected again will not thank themselves this year if they vote for this motion. So that's why.
Councillor Hughes.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd just like to support the statements made by the mover and the seconder, and I endorse the comments made by both of them. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, being a democracy, I'd just like to refer back to my comments earlier in the meeting that having circulated this issue amongst my constituents, and the same as yours, Madam Chair, the 100% feedback was to utilise it in a way in which it didn't increase rates. And on that basis, I'm going to support my constituents and not support this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Strange.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak to this one. Yeah, I just have some reservations about this. I mean, depending on where you sit, you know, the optics could be viewed either way, but also it leaves us a little bit high and dry if there is anything coming that, you know, any weather event or incursion or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't think it's fiscally smart, but anyway, thank you.
All right, we have had 3 speak for and 3 speak against, but Councillor Mahuta, go ahead.
Okay, so trying to figure out, I went back through my notes of all of the budgeting that we've done to get to where we are. So operating within the limitations that we gave the CE, we got that kind of budget back. Then we got feedback on it and now we have the response. So all of that said, I understand how we got to where we got to, but I think unless it's going to cause a significant change in smoothing out the rates going forward, it's our duty to stabilise things in the uncertain times that we're in. But I do accept, Ben, what I was speaking to was that future policy provide better guardrails.
Yeah.
So that councils in the future can be assured that when it reaches this tipping point, we have this conversation or this set of deliberations around that. So it's not just seen as wasted excess and we don't fluff up numbers in the future. So that said, I don't support this order.
All right. So I'm going to put this, yeah. So we'll go ahead and put this motion.
Alrighty, I've highlighted the motion on the screen that council approves the return of 2.545 million to ratepayers from the 24-25 operating surplus of 4.495 million, equating to a financial year 25-26 rates reduction of approximately 1.7%. I'll call your names as usual. Can you please indicate if you support, oppose or abstain from the motion, and remember to use your mics, please. Councillor Clarkson.
Oppose.
Councillor Cookson.
For.
Councillor Downard.
For.
Councillor Dunbar-Smith.
Support.
Councillor Graff.
Support.
Councillor Hodge.
Support.
Councillor Hughes.
Support.
Councillor Kneebone.
Oppose.
Councillor Marr.
Support.
Councillor Mahuta. Councillor Nicol.
Oppose.
Councillor Smith. Councillor Story.
Oppose.
Councillor Strange.
Oppose.
Ah, you love it.
I've taken my time this
You'll
time.
love it.
Yep. The vote is tied 7-7. The chair may exercise the casting vote should they so wish.
Uh,
Now the chair's got to maintain the status quo, which is, don't give it back.
oppose.
The motion is lost.
Y'all make me earn my money. Hey. All right. So what have we got left?
So Dave, just to check that number, the 152 should be 152,584, please. Yeah, and 5.7 is fine.
We have division on this too, please, Madam Chair.
Yep. So again, a reminder that this brings us under the 8.6 signaled in our LTP and the 5.9 that we went out to consultation with. So well done in getting us this far, everyone. So we've got a mover and Councillor Mahuta. Do I have a second? Councillor Kneebone. All those in favor? Oh, wait a minute. Somebody called a division, did they? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was me.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Madam
What are
Chair.
you doing over there? What are you cooking up over there?
Ma-
All right.
Madam Chair.
Let's,
Could I just could I just respectfully ask everyone why we want a division? Because everyone has gone through
I
and
know.
had their votes recorded where they so wanted.
Yep.
We've
agree.
got to have an annual plan. None of us want to go back and do it again. We've all had our views recorded.
We've consulted publicly.
A division was called for
Understand it.
by Councillor Downard, so he reserves the right
Been
to
called
do that.
for.
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Okay. So we've got a division called. The resolution on the floor is that the council approves the 2025-26 annual plan budget with an estimated total rates revenue requirement and increase in rates revenue from current ratepayers of 152.584 million, with an estimated increase in rates revenue from current ratepayers of 5.7% in 2025-26.
Yes.
Yeah.
speak, yeah.
Approves that, as amended through the annual plan process, because was it the annual plan budget that was published, or is it the annual plan budget that we've achieved after the deliberations? Because I'm being pedantic, but which one are we actually approving? It's after the.
So what you're approving is the final annual plan budget. So
Yeah.
in February, it was draft
Yeah.
annual plan. This is the annual plan budget on
Thank
which
you.
you will set rates.
Yeah, no, I've just been pedantic.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so, and as requested, we're going to go backwards. So, Councillor Cookson? Yeah, I've started with you and I'm going backwards.
It does an annual plan budget. This is setting an annual plan, councillors.
Right. Councillor Clarkson?
Support.
Councillor Strange?
Unexpected. Support.
Councillor Story?
Support.
Councillor Smith? Councillor Nicol? Councillor Mahuta? Councillor Ma?
Support.
Councillor Kneebone?
Support.
Councillor Hughes?
Support.
Councillor Hodge?
Support.
Councillor Graff?
Oppose.
Councillor Dunbar Smith?
Oppose.
Councillor Downard?
Oppose.
The motion is carried, 11 votes to 3.
Thank you, everyone. All right. So that motion was carried. You've just said that. Okay, sweet. Fantastic. That's the last of everything. Nothing else we need to mop up? No other sweeping up of anything? Nope, we're all good. Well done, everyone. I know that every time we go through this, it feels like a long process, something that we start early February, and here we are, late May. And I just want to commend everybody for sticking with it. I appreciate it. I appreciate how everybody has brought their ideas to the table, thrashed things out, talked to each other. That's really, we've come a long way. And I just want to acknowledge that. All right, so with that, we will close with a karakia.
Madam Chair, unahia, unahia, unahia mai te uru tapanui, kia wātia, kia mama, te nākau, te tinana, te hinanaro. E te ara takatu, koe rā e rongo, e whakaria aki ke runga, kia tina, tina, haumie, huie, tai kie.
All right, we'll declare the meeting closed at 2:32 p.m. Well done, everyone.
Excellent. Bye.